Hi everyone from my car on my work break as an essential employee in a pandemic. I hope everybody's faring as well as I am. So I'm making this video to describe the two interviews that I held with the two mothers in my life. Each interview I discussed their background, their relationship with their spouse and father of their children. I discussed how they felt during pregnancy, how they felt during child labor, birth, and then I discussed their feelings after they had their child for the first several years. So interview one was with somebody who I fondly refer to as Mother L. Mother L was not interested in having a family. She was one of 5 children to her parents. She was the caretaker for her parents, her mom suffering a stroke and her dad suffering a heart attack later in life. She was also kind of the caretaker for her siblings. She kind of kept them in check, even though she was not the oldest. She was in fact the middle. She was the mother sibling where she checked in on the sisters, she checked in on the brothers. All of them married off well before she did. She was not interested in a family or home life. She wasn't really interested in a husband. It wasn't until she was 30 that she had her first meaningful relationship in which she would consider marriage. So she married her one and only husband. This was his second marriage at 32. And at 35, she found out that she was pregnant with their first child, which they thought was impossible because he was supposed to have a vasectomy after his first 2 children with his first wife, and she had a procedure in which she thought her tubes were tied. However, she did get pregnant. So she admits that she had a lot of fear and anxiety when she found out that she was pregnant, which is a natural feeling for a new mother. You know, how do you protect this small infant from what is the big scary world, especially with, COVID-19 and everything. So she held a lot of fear and anxiety. Otherwise, her pregnancy was wonderful. She did not gain a lot of weight. The baby was born a day prior to his expected due date, healthy weight of 8.6, no complications, nothing like that. She does admit that child labor with her first son was awful. It was 36 hours. She did receive the epidural, but you know how it goes. 36 hours of just straight pain. It would be intolerable whether or not there was medication, I'm sure. After childbirth, she was in complete and utter bliss. She wasn't as worried or fearful about the world. She was very able and easy to bond with the baby because the job that she held was a nighttime job. So during the night she would leave the baby with his father and she would go to work, and then she would be home with him all day. So their bonding was very sufficient and very secure. She did not express any feelings of depression, sadness, anxiety, doubt when she had her child. She only expresses joy, bliss, so to say. She in fact had a second child 2 years later with the same husband. He tragically was in an accident shortly thereafter, so her life kind of changed with the second child. She had a lot more anxiety. The labor was a little easier. She admits that it was still very difficult, but the time frame was not as long. And then she just continuously expresses all the sadness that she has with the second child because she was not able to bond with him like she was the first child. So she keeps expressing that postpartum, for a long time, and then it just went into generalized depression. She was leaving her sons with her sister while she worked during the day because after the husband's accident, the sister became the primary caretaker and she was unwilling to watch the kids at night because it kind of set off their house rotation. Their kids were settled, they had a routine, and bringing the boys in at night was not acceptable for the sister. So Mother L had to change her work schedule to days. So she was not able to bond with her second son the way that she was the first, and it shows in the actions that personally I've seen via the first son and the second. The second son, it's difficult to get him to contact his mother, while the first son frequently checks in on her and makes sure that she is okay, that she doesn't need anything, especially in a pandemic. So that is the interview. That's the summary for Mother L, interview 1. And then Mother G was my interview number 2. Mother G had a better home life growing up. She did not have to be the mother to her siblings. Her family was well established. Her parents were very involved. Unfortunately, Mother G made a slightly different turn with her life, and as she says that she regrets, she got married at 17 and she had her first child at 18. She says she does not regret having the child. She does, however, regret having her first child that young, because she claims that she had to grow up with him. So she said that although she was very thrilled to have this child, she had a lot of fears and anxiety. She did, in fact, her pregnancy was not that easy for being 18. She did develop preeclampsia. Her husband was in the military, so they were on a military fort when her first child was born, and she was not able to receive any of the medications to make childbirth easy or faster. So she suffered through a very long childbirth. She quotes it at 30 hours. That's what she quotes, and that's what I'm going to believe. So she says 30 hours of miserable childbirth, no epidural, no help. Her husband was not allowed to be there because it was a military base and he was at basic or AIT at the time. And they were shipped off shortly thereafter to Germany. So Mother G had a very hard time transitioning into being a mother because her whole life was flipped upside down. She kind of lost her support, she lost her family, she lost her friends, she lost her security that was being in the same area for such a long time. So moving to Germany kind of gave her that bout of depression and that anxiety, and she had to deal with that for a very long time. She was left on her own in the apartment with the baby in a foreign country, you know, just waiting to hear from her husband about what they need to do. So Mother G had a much harder post-childbirth than Mother L did with their first child. Mother G did, in fact, divorce her first husband and remarry at 27. At 27, she had her second child. This pregnancy was much easier. She did not develop preeclampsia. She did gain much more weight than she gained with the first pregnancy, and it was much harder to get off because she was older. She does express that she had more energy with the first baby because she was 18 instead of 27. She didn't have a full-time job. She had one now. But she said that she did not have difficulty bonding with either baby. Mother G was very available to both of her children in the infant stage. She was with them all the time. She took years off at a time just to make sure that they were securely attached, and it helped her with her postpartum with her first child, and luckily she did not develop any of those same depressive symptoms with her second. So it was very fun and knowledgeable to talk to these women, because you kind of look at them as these very strong women in your life, and you're like, wow, they had, you know, the same thing that we all could suffer from. You know, they could be sad and fearful. Like, that's one of my personal fears, is bringing a child into a world like this that has scary pandemics and lockdowns. And they did all this, and they did 30-hour labors with no medicine, or 36 with an epidural, and it teaches you a lot, and you can actually learn and appreciate how strong these women are from these interviews. So I did enjoy this project, if nothing else for the sheer depth that it helped my relationship with Mother L and Mother G. So I hope you all have a great day. I hope that everybody is doing well in this and that we all have the same positive outlook about what's coming. Have a great day.